Hey there, folks, and welcome out to the Single Player Podcast. I'm your one and only host, I'm 16-Bit, and I got a good show for this week because we're going to be talking about the Smash World Tour being canceled, the Game Awards will be shorter this year, Microsoft hikes their game prices, plus more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, and I'll be with you in a bit. Alright folks, we're back, and now it's time to start the show with my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everyone in the world's favorite segment. It's time for the gaming forecast. So let's see what's coming out between the week of December 11th to the 17th. Alright, on the 13th, you have just two games coming out. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. And High on Life for Windows, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Then on the 14th, you have just one game coming out, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. And then on the 15th, you have four games coming out. Aka for Windows, Nintendo Switch, Akai Katana Shin for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, and Blacktail for Windows, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X. And then on the 16th, you have Megaton Musashi X releasing exclusively in Japan on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. And that was your gaming forecast. There's definitely a couple interesting stuff there. Definitely one that kind of catches my interest is Azure Striker Gunvolt 3, because I played some of the older ones. They're pretty good. I'm not sure about Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII, because I already have it on the PSP. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's probably the most common game on the PSP you can find. But anyway, if there's any games here that catches your fancy, please let me know a bit down below. Also, if you like any of the music that will be played in this week's episode, there are links in the description. With that being said, let's move on to our first topic. Okay, so for our first story, we gotta talk about Super Smash Bros. Because it appears one of the competitions has been officially canceled. That's right. So Smash World Tour was set to start sometime actually around this week. But it seems that Nintendo decided not to offer a license to host any Smash Brothers events, and so therefore they cannot continue with the competition. In a statement released to IGN, Nintendo said, and I quote, "The decision was solely based on our assessment of the proposal submitted by the SWT and our evaluation of their unlicensed activities. Any partner that we grant a license to has to meet the high standards we require when it comes to the health and safety of our fans. It's also important that our partner adheres to brand and IP guidelines and conducts itself according to professional and organizational best practices. We use this same approach to independently assess all partners. If we discover that a partner is doing something inappropriate, we will work to correct it." So, yeah, it's just Nintendo, that was it. They put the hammer down. That's it. They ain't going to be doing that. They're not working with this Smash World Tour, and they're not licensing it. So, now, of course, the organizers of the Smash World Tour are claiming that the reason for this is because of one of the Smash Brothers partners, Panda Global, had sabotaged the entire thing. They're claiming that the founder, Alan Bunny, was telling potential organizers that the Smash World Tour would be getting shut down. thereby making any potential Smash World Tour partners have second thoughts of joining up with the Smash World Tour. Of course, Nintendo did actually respond to this and said that their decision was not influenced by any external parties such as Panda Global, and that the company is open to partnering with other organizations and will continue to offer licenses for major tournaments outside of the Panda Cup. So I don't know what exactly happened, or why Nintendo had decided not to, because that's the thing, they don't really say what exactly happened. They just say that they were not adhering to their brand and IP guidelines, and they were not acting professional, and that was it. So, which is, I think is a little iffy, again, because Nintendo's very vague with the entire thing, but here's the thing, though. It wouldn't surprise me if it had something to do with certain behavior, because we know the history of the Smash Brothers tourney scene, alright? I'm not saying that they're doing anything. I'm not actually saying, oh yeah, there's absolute... it's just speculation, okay? I'm just speculating here. But it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. If it turned out that it was Nintendo caught wind of some sort of inappropriate behavior or whatever, because we do know that the Smash tourney scene has a history of inappropriate behavior. It's been happening for quite a few years now. So, in fact, there's a ton of memes about it. So I guess we're just going to have to wait until we actually get some more information about what's been going on behind the scenes. But until then, let's move on to our next story. Alright, so next up, I want to talk a bit more about the Mario movie second trailer, because there was some interesting discourse about it afterwards. And, people had some interesting opinions about it. It mostly seemed to be mixed. Some people liked it, some people didn't. And that's fine. People have a right to their own opinions. But there was one thing I noticed, and that was the discourse surrounding Princess Peach. Now, if you haven't seen the trailer yet, you really should. There's a scene in there where Princess Peach, we see her kind of gearing up, and she's in her tracksuit from Mario Kart, and she's wielding a halberd just as Bowser's entire castle is coming in. Now, on Twitter, you had basically two camps that were discussing this. On one side, you had a group of people basically praising it as some sort of progressive update to Princess Peach, that she's now strong and independent and feminist and all this kind of stuff. And then on the other hand, you have a group of people freaking out about it, saying, oh my god, they've gone woke, they've gone feminist, yada yada yada. The usual Twitter discourse you see all the time. And through these two discussions, I've come to the conclusion that both sides are fucking stupid. Just incredibly dumb. Okay? Folks, I don't think I need to tell you that Princess Peach has been a playable character in the Mario series since Super Mario Bros. 2. And this is where, like, the feminist side kind of gets things wrong, okay? Because in their mind, in every game, they think that Princess Peach is always a damsel in distress. And she obviously hasn't. Mario Bros. 2, she joins Mario, Luigi, and Toad. And she has, throughout the years, in other games such as Super Mario 3D World. In fact, she even got her own game, Super Princess Peach, in which Mario actually gets kidnapped. Of course, the irony here is the people praising the Mario movie for this are the same kind of people that would call Super Princess Peach sexist. And then that's not getting into, like, other stuff like Mario Kart, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, and of course Super Smash Bros., where Peach has been a playable fighter since friggin' Melee, over 20 years ago. And then you have the comics, the Super Mario Bros. Adventures, that was in Nintendo Power, where she outright, actually at one point, disguised herself as Luigi and kicked a lot of ass. And then there's the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, where she also played a prominent role. So, people saying that this is somehow brand new for Princess Peach obviously have never played the games. Then there's the side freaking out that it's woke. And honestly, again, it's just a stupid argument. Folks, if this was actually woke, it would have been far, far worse. And, and you also had people that were saying that it was woke because, Mario is bumbling. He's kind of seen as an idiot, whereas Peach is shown as competent. Guys, it's a friggin' origin story for Mario, okay? This is him and Luigi's first time in the Mushroom Kingdom. They're not exactly used to everything, alright? Okay? And besides, Mario ain't perfect, okay? Anyone who has played the games knows that he has had his ass kicked and he's been kidnapped numerous times. I can list all of them. There was Super Mario is Missing, where he disappeared and Luigi had to go find him. I think he was kidnapped in that one. Then there's Super Mario Sunshine, where he was arrested, jailed, and found guilty of a crime he never committed. Then there's Super Mario Galaxy, where he got his ass kicked by Bowser, and the same thing in Mario Odyssey, alright? Then there's the Luigi's Mansion games, where he's been kidnapped in, I think, every single game. I haven't played Dark Moon in a long time, but I'm pretty sure he was kidnapped in that one. Point being, Mario ain't perfect. He has been kidnapped. He's had his ass kicked several times. So freaking out about that and saying, oh my god, it's a sign that's woke, it's just a stupid argument. So both sides of this are completely stupid. And you know what? I'm actually really looking forward to the Mario movie. It seems like it's a fun time. So anyway, guys, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Me and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice, it had to be the only one for me is you.
Something's gone wrong in the happy-go-lucky world of Nintendo. Introducing Super Smash Bros., where all your favorite characters go toe-to-toe in one 4-player star-studded slam fest, only on Nintendo 64.
Alright folks, we're back, and first up in our next round of stories, we gotta talk about the Game Awards. Now, of course, the Game Awards are happening tomorrow, but until then, we've got a little bit more insight from the man behind it himself, Jeff Keighley. So recently on his Twitter Space audio streams, he revealed some little interesting insights into the upcoming show. And it's something I actually thought was really interesting. He said, and I quote, "One thing we're doing this year is we're trying to make the show a little bit shorter. I won't say anything official until we're through our rehearsals, but we think it's going to be a significantly shorter show this year. We think there's been a little bit of fatigue about how long the show has been. There are lots of games and lots of things that want to be a part of it, but we're cutting back on those things to hopefully have a bit more of a streamlined show. We definitely have cut back pretty significantly in terms of the runtime on the show, and just, kind of fewer games, fewer bigger games, that'll be there." And you know what? I'm actually kind of glad to hear that, because one of the problems with the Game Awards for years is not just the sheer amount of corporate sponsorships, but also the fact that it's basically a glorified E3. Okay? There you've got all these game announcements and all this kind of shit, and that cuts into it, and it just makes it unnecessarily long. So I'm glad to see that they're actually cutting into that. They're trying to make the event a little bit shorter. That's perfectly fine by me. In fact, I actually might watch it this year, because normally I don't watch them. I honestly haven't watched the Game Awards. Oh God, probably since live. We're talking, not like recordings of it. I'm talking about I haven't watched it live probably since 2015. Maybe, I don't know. It's been a really long time. And it's because it just never really did anything for me, I remember, I'll say this, it's gotten far better than it was back in the 2000s, okay, when it was the Spike TV Video Game Awards, and it was pretty bad back then. So I'm glad to see that that they're actually trying to make it a little bit better. They're trying to shorten things out, trying to cut it down a little bit. That's perfectly fine by me. So yeah, I'll definitely probably check it out tomorrow. And I will cover the winners next week's episode. I don't do the whole live stream watching it and all that kind of crap. But anyway, with that being said, let's move on to our next story. Alright, and next up, we got to talk about Elder Scrolls 6. Now, of course, nothing has actually been confirmed yet. So understand, this isn't this isn't like there's some sort of breaking news about it or anything like that. But recently, Todd Howard was on the Lex Friedman podcast. Now, I haven't finished the entire episode. It's almost 3 hours long, but I've gone quite a lot into it, and it's actually really good. It's a fantastic interview. But, of course, at a part of it, they got to talk about Elder Scrolls 6, and Friedman asked him if he knew what year it's going to come out. Because, this stuff can take a long time. And Todd Howard had an interesting answer. He said, and I quote, "I have a vague idea. I wish it was soon. We want it out too, and I wish they didn't take as long as they did, but they do. And look, if I could go back in time, it would never have been my plan to wait as long as it's taken for it. We're going to make sure we do it right for everybody. People are playing games for a long time. Skyrim's 11 years old now. Still 11 years old. Still probably our most played game, so we don't see it slowing down. And people will probably be playing it in 10 years from now. So you have to think, okay, people are going to play the next Elder Scrolls game for decades, 2 decades. And that does change the way you think about it, how you architect it from the get-go. Now, this could just be Todd Howard being Todd Howard as usual, where he makes something sound more grandiose than he actually is. But I'm actually hoping that this is a sign that that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be much, much bigger than any game in the series previously. This thing is going to be absolutely huge, and that's what I'm hoping it's going to be. But like I said, Todd Howard has a tendency to exaggerate. I'm sure we all remember it. All the times he talked about how there are over 200 handcrafted dungeons. I think, didn't he say that in Fallout 3 there were over 100 different endings? And it turned out that in the original vanilla version of Fallout 3, there's only one. That was it. They had to update it later with the other endings because, oh God, who was it? Because people tried to convince the mutant. What was his name? Fuck, I can't remember. The mutant the super mutant that joins you, okay? Dude is impervious to radiation, and if you try to ask him to go into the chamber, he'd outright refuse and say it's your destiny or some bullshit like that. And they had to patch it in where he could actually go into the chamber. So I kind of wonder if this is just Todd being Todd, or if he is actually just being a little bit more down to earth and saying, yeah, it's going to take a long time, but we're expecting you to play this game 20, 30 years from now. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. All right, and for our next story, we got to talk about Elden Ring. So recently, the creator of the series, Hidetaka Miyazaki, was at a Q&A session during PlayStation Partner Awards. And he was asked about what he thinks of the game's massive success. And he said, and I quote, "Honestly, I haven't analyzed it much. It's true that sales were higher than those of our previous games, but I have no idea what the reason was. So even if I wanted to reproduce that success, I wouldn't be able to, the same way before. I try not to think about it too much because I think it would be a bad idea to analyze it deeply and to consciously try to replicate it in another game." Now here's the thing, I can tell you why Elden Ring was such a huge success. It wasn't just because of the fact that it was a Miyazaki game, or the fact that it was another Soulsborne. It's the fact that it's a game that doesn't hold the player's hand. That when you're paying $60 for it, you're getting the entire experience. There's no DLC, there's no microtransactions, loot boxes, it's not a live service game. None of that bullshit is in there, okay? If you want to play it with online, that's completely optional. You're not forced to be part of it. That's why people want it. People want a pure gaming experience. They don't want something that's cinematic. They don't want, you know what I mean? They don't want something that's holding their hand and basically toned down to them, where basically anyone could play the game, okay? They want something that actually challenges them, and that's what we're missing in the industry. We've been missing it for a long time. You know, you have all these games where they want everyone to play it, but the problem is, when you try to make a game for everyone, you make a game for no one. Because people don't want a game that anyone can play. They don't want a game where that they know that they're just going to win no matter what. Because where's the fun in that? Where's the feeling of victory when you actually do beat a game, but the game is entirely easy to beat? It holds your hand. It tells you what to do. Okay? There's no feeling of victory in it. You know what I mean? But when you play something like Elden Ring or Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and you finally defeat that boss, you finally kill that one enemy you've been having trouble with, you feel like you've actually accomplished something, okay? And that's what's missing in a lot of AAA modern games these days, all right? A lot of them hold your hand, they do everything for you, they tell you how to beat the game, and it's just not fun. I'm hearing a lot of people talking about the new God of War, and they're just saying it's not fun. It holds your hand too much. The puzzles are super friggin' easy, okay? And people are, just in general, from what I'm seeing, a lot of people are just not having fun with it. That's why, because the game is holding your hand. It's telling you what to do, and it's being nice to you, okay? It's why I honestly think the older God of War games are so much better. Because those games did not hold your hand. They did not hold back from kicking your ass. You know, that's what I love about them. So that's why his game works so much. And I have to appreciate the fact that he's not analyzing it too much, because he doesn't want to the success of Elden Ring to affect him. I totally understand that, because the unfortunate reality is, you know, something becomes successful, people get their heads up their own ass, and they think that anything they touch turns to gold. And sometimes you can't let yourself do that. You gotta just not think too much about it and just move on to the next project. Alright? So, this is why I really appreciate Miyazaki, because he does come off to me as a very down-to-earth, humble person. And that's what we need more of in the industry. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Fight, video game warriors! You have battled throughout the year to claim that which you deserve. But in the end, only one can hold the ultimate prize.
Hold on one damn minute.
battle can be won, but in a civilized high-class affair. It's called the Video Game Awards. I'm hosting. Now let's do this.
Spike TV's Video Game Awards, hosted by Samuel L. Jackson, December 10th.
Alright folks, we're back, and first up in our last round of stories, we got to talk about Microsoft, because it appears that they made an announcement regarding their first-party titles. You see, starting next year, they've announced that all of their new first-party games for Xbox Series X and S will now be hiked up from $60 to $70 at launch. Yep. So far, the titles that have been confirmed for this include Forza Motorsport, Redfall, and Starfield. So, they're all going to cost $70. This price reflects the content scale and technical complexity of these titles. As with all games developed by our teams at Xbox, they will also be available with Game Pass the same day they launch. Now, here's the thing. I think that this is a downright horrible idea. This is stupid. This is incredibly stupid, because here's the reason why, folks. First off, you have a console that is still hard to find for most people, okay? Some people get lucky, such as myself, who come across a listing on Amazon that's at MSRP, that's not like $700-800, and they can get it, okay? But most people aren't that lucky. They still can't get these freaking systems. Okay? We are already in the second, like, it's been 2 years since these consoles came out, and most people still haven't been able to get their hands on them. Okay? But on top of that, to jump the prices up to $70, that kills it for many people. That, for a lot of people, that kills it. Maybe Starfield people will go for, but there's a good chance most people will go for the PC version. Because if they're saying that's going to be only for this is only for Xbox Series X and S, then most likely the PC version will still be $59.99. So it's like, what's the point of getting the Xbox version when the console is still hard to find, and the console version is $10 more? It's incredibly stupid. But then you also have the other elephant in the room, and that's the fact that we are either right now or on the verge of a recession. The economy ain't doing too hot right now, and most people, they have to think about if they have enough money for food on their tables and a roof over their heads and gas in their cars. They don't have time to worry about consoles, okay? Or money. They don't have time or money to worry about consoles. So the timing of this is poor. And in general, this entire decision is poor. Now, I think Sony announced that they were going to do it themselves. But why the fuck would you want to copy Sony? Okay, Sony's your competitor. They're the console that you're going up against. Okay, you don't. If they do something stupid like that, you don't copy them. Okay, it's like this. If you're in competition with someone and they shoot their foot, you don't pull out a gun and shoot your own foot. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a stupid decision. And I think Microsoft, that's going to kill it for a lot of people. They're going to look at the price of these systems. They're going to look at how the low availability, and they're going to look at the fact that these games are $70, and that's just going to kill it for them. They're not going to want to go for it. Okay? Now, of course, you're going to have people saying this, because anytime the topic of game prices are too damn high comes up, people, of course, immediately go towards games back in the old days used to cost $70. No, they didn't. Not entirely. Okay? Here's the thing, folks. When I'm just going to nip this in the bud before anyone brings it up. Okay? Not every game cost $70. Yes, some did, but those were games that were larger in scale because, remember, RAM cartridges required multiple components. They were incredibly expensive to manufacture, so it was priced according to how much it cost to manufacture the cartridge. The more components you added to a cartridge, the more the price went up. So, of course, you had RPGs were the big one. That's why a lot of RPGs back in the NES and Super Nintendo era didn't really sell very well. Not because people didn't like them, but because simply they were really expensive, okay? The average price, I've looked into it myself, and from what I've seen, the average price of games in the third and fourth generations was around anywhere between $30 to $50, okay? That was it. Because most games did not require all these extra components and chipsets, you know what I mean? Like, you could possibly say, well, I remember buying Star Fox and Mega Man X3 for $70, $80. Yeah, because one had the Super FX chip, the other had the CX4 chip. This shit cost a lot of money, but there were games that could fit on a standard 2 to 8 megabit ROM cartridge. And by the way, I did realize that I said RAM before, I meant to say ROM. Sometimes I get the two confused. But anyway, the point being that not every game was $70. A lot of the more expensive to manufacture games were, but for the most part, the average library of the Super Nintendo and the NES and the Genesis and all that was anywhere between $30 to $50. I just want to point that out because, again, people are going to bring up games used to cost that much. No, not everyone did. And by the way, they evened out to like $50 by the time you get to like the PS1 and the Saturn. And that continued up through the PS2, the Xbox, and the GameCube. So overall, I just think that this is a terrible idea. Microsoft should not be raising the price of their games. I get that right now they're financially hurting, or maybe they are, I don't know. But if they are, you just gotta grin and bear it, okay? Remember, you guys survived the 2008 recession, alright? If you could survive that, you could possibly survive this. Don't raise your prices, that's fucking stupid. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Alright, this next story I thought was really interesting. So, Yuzo Koshiro, for those who don't know, is a longtime composer. He got his start back in 1986, and he's done quite a lot of games, including the East 1 and 2, Legacy of the Wizard. But probably he's best known for is the Streets of Rage series. That's right, he did all 4 Streets of Rage games. Yes, including the 4th one that recently came out. Well, it appears that, oh, and also, what is it? And the Etrian Odyssey series. I keep forgetting about that one. Yeah, he did Etrian Odyssey. All 5 games. He's done the entire series. So, yeah, he's got really good track record. Well, it appears that he's announced his next game, and it's his return to the Sega Genesis. Yeah, he announced that his next game will in fact be an old school shoot 'em up for the Sega Genesis, and he actually showed off some screenshots, and it's a game running on the Genesis, and to make it even better, he's playing it on an old school CRT television. That beautiful. That's how you do it. That's how you play the Genesis. My God, it looks great. It looks absolutely fantastic. Now, the game does not have any sort of... actually, doesn't even have a title, nor does it actually have any sort of release date. But I think that's really cool that he's kind of returning to the Sega Genesis. Oh, ActRaiser. That was the other one I kept forgetting about. He did the music for ActRaiser 1 and 2. Yeah, dude, like I said, he's got a really good track record. But anyway, moving on. You know what? I'm glad to see not only is he returning to the Genesis, but the fact that I've noticed a lot more games that are coming out for the Genesis, and I like the idea of brand new games for older systems, because the problem with playing older systems is that, well, they have a finite number of games. Eventually you will run out of games that you're actually interested in. So I'm glad to see more people developing for older systems, but also for the Genesis, and that you haven't someone who has a really good track record of great soundtracks, Yuzo Koshiro, doing the music. So that's I'm looking forward to that. I'll keep my eye on it. I'll keep you guys up to date on any updates on it. So anyway, let's move on to our next story. Alright, and for our last story, I thought I'd end off on something really fun. So as I'm sure many of you know, over the years, Nintendo's been doing these live Splatoon concerts. You know, they have the characters up on stage performing music from the games. Well, they did another one, but this time they weren't alone because they included Animal Crossing on the stage as well. Yeah, that's right. Of course, this time it was DJ KK was on the stage remixing music from New Horizons with various appearances by characters and islanders and such. And in fact, it opened up with Isabelle doing her morning announcements, greeting everyone to the concert, which I thought was pretty neat. And of course, for Splatoon music, they brought in Deep Cut, but of course they weren't alone because there were real musicians there performing music. So overall, it's a fun little concert. It's only less than an hour long. I started watching it, and then I started basically listening to it on my drive between work and home. And let me tell you, it's a fantastic concert. Definitely one I highly recommend you go check out. So I'll leave the link in the description. You can go watch it. It's pretty fun. Anyway, guys, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Here is a true story
of 4 friends picked to live in a video game
and find out what happens when they stop being themselves
and start being someone else.
Animal Crossing
for Nintendo GameCube.
A sheep moved into the village today.
Sweet.
Why am I always the one organizing the treasure hunt? Maybe I'd like to sit around blasting techno music all day.
Welcome to Animal Crossing, the live game that's happening every minute of every day, whether you're playing or not.
Trade you some wallpaper for your UFO.
You think I'm a chump? Try the raccoon.
Rated E for everyone.
Alright folks, and that's it for this week. I want to thank you all for listening. Remember, if you like any of the music in this week's episode, links are in the description. There is also a link to the Single Player Radio playlist. It is all the music from past episodes in one playlist. Thought you guys might enjoy that. And with that being said, I'll see you next week, and remember to keep gaming.